You're watching PEGRI TV, Rhode Island's public access channel.
Salam. My name is Sheikh Abu Hakim Abdullah, President Chairman of Al Masjid Sharia Allah, AMSA, a non-profit religious organization operating in the state of Rhode Island, USA. Last time I left you last, we was talking about going into Syria. Well, there's a lot of news been happening ever since then. Now, the President of the United States, President Obama, is taking it before the representative of the country, which we all know the House is predominantly ruled by the Republicans. Another set. And the Democrats are the minority. So, you know how the Republicans been acting since President since President Obama been in office. They've been acting awful, terrible, and reminds me of a lot of other things that have been saying out their mouths and how they act. They've been disrespecting him constantly. When they interview him, like programs like Fox and other stations like that, when they interview him, they show no respect whatsoever. And they speak to him like he's one of the hoods off the street. Now, I know a lot of people won't say that, but my boss is God. And I'm controlled by him. And I'm a citizen of the United States, and I have a right to opinion. And my opinion was that. The way they speak to him, it's like, to me, if it's like the Klan speaking to a black farmer in the South in the early 1800s and 1900s. And that's the feeling I give every time they speak to him. And I can't hide that. I can't keep that a secret. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. But that happened to come up. What I'm still talking about is our duty towards each other as a religious body, Muslims. Our duty by Quran and the Hadith of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, and the way he ran the Islam, which we are supposed to emulate. Many of you Muslims, many of you, do not seem to want to follow the Hadith, use the Hadiths in your Islamic actions and deeds, except on a small basis. Allah gave the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ the right, excuse me, to add on and to take off. He gave it to no other person but the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. So anything we add on must be the actions of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or anything we take off must be the actions of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And we're not seen to be doing that. We seem to be following in life at least 65% of our desires, personal desires, and not the desire to serve Allah and the Islam as we should. That should be 100%. And we're not doing that as a body. Or as individuals. Some individuals are doing it, some are not. And we're not following the deen like we should be following it. One thing we're not doing, we're not living our deen. That's a difference in following the deen or living our deen. To live the deen is to dedicate your whole life towards the deen and to follow the deen in everything you do. We're told in our different classes, Tawheed classes, Tawheed classes, Mubadi classes, Islamic classes, to emulate the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, emulate, and to rehearse our deen at all times. And we not seem to be doing that. So it's hard for us to understand, or personally accept the position that we must accept as Muslims, if that's the way we're going to do it. We at this time have thousands of Muslims jumping up and down in the street, marching with signs in their hands. Repeating their desires of what they want in Islam. I'll repeat that again. Thousands of Muslims, thousands of people that call themselves Muslims, with placards in their hand, marching in the streets of different countries, demanding what they want in Islam, or what they want in society that is governed by Islam, and not what is all, not what they should be doing to demand more Islam. One of the problems with our society, the Muslim society, in countries where Muslims are supposed to have full Islamic Sharia, is being controlled by people that want to be bed partners with the whole world. And at the same time, are in a position that don't allow them to be the followers of Allah. And at the same time, be the person or title that they live under. Let's take, for instance, a king. A king is, you look what a king is supposed to be. A king is supposed to be the ruler of the country, the law giver and the law taker. In the old days, it was the life-giver and the life-taker. And in some countries, it still is. So it's hard for that person or group of people to be dictated to by a spiritual God. From Quran or the Hadiths. So what they do them both to a degree. The ruler of any Islamic group should be and must be Allah. And his manager of those groups must be the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and his ways of doing things. Without having that position, without allowing those positions to exist, is erasing the Islam out of your group. And so you should not then be able to call yourself a Muslim or a believer in Islam or a follower of Islam. Let's put it that way, a follower of Islam. If you're going to take some out and some in and whatnot and put ice water in oil, you're going to end up with a mixture of nothing that is usable. And that's what we seem to be doing. So, to understand our position about what's taking place around the world today, with the gassing and all this other stuff, and the jobs we're supposed to do as Muslims, and really sincerely do these jobs, it's not possible by the method we're using to follow the Prophet, follow Islam, and to be obedient to Allah. For Allah tells us how to follow, how to be obedient to Him, and how to follow the Islam. There's one important thing that's done in Islam that we fail to comprehend the true meaning of the saying, I buy from you this life for a promise of the hereafter. We don't seem to understand what that means. And so we turn around and do things 100% differently than the follower. We no longer have that right to decide how we must follow Islam. But yet we act like we do. The only partnership that we have in this whole thing is a partnership that we might make with each other. But it must be Islamic still. There's many people that don't want to be dictated to. But that's Islam. It dictates to us what we should do, how we should be, what we should drink, how we should drink it, what we should eat, how we should eat it, how we should live with our families and our wives and our children, how we should go about living every day with people. That's dictated to us by the Quran and the Hadiths, and cannot be taken away from the Islam. It is a part of the Islam. So for a Muslim to stand up and say to you or me or anyone else, say, I want democracy, the democratic system governing our bodies. And I want the Islam to only be a spiritual indulgence and a spiritual solution for us on Friday. It's like saying, I'm tired of the Islam being a physical government over me, and I want the democratic system to be the physical government over me. So at that time, you're rejecting Islam. Think about it. And anybody that you confront with that, that's a follower of Islam, can say that and should say that you are rejecting the Islamic way of life for the democratic system and democracy. Democracy and the democratic system is a system, and it is a true method of doing things. Whether it's right or wrong, but it's a true method of doing things. It's not an abstract, it's a reality. And you must live that reality. And in order to live that reality, you must discard other things that will interfere with that reality. The Christian world is doing that towards us. They're trying to live democratically. They're trying to destroy Islam. They're trying to change the Islam to match what they wanted to match. They're trying to tell Muslims to act the way they want them to act in order to be a part of this world, this society. They have classified different parts of Muslims seeking Islam to be that if a Muslim says, I'm a fundamentalist, I believe in Islam the way it was 1400 and so years ago. And I wish to have that back again. In the eyes of the society today that is democratic and social and other things, and even the Buddhist party is involved like this now, you are a terrorist. Or this new word they got going now, an Islamist. You are Islamist. And you're bad for the society. This new thing that's happening now is in Islam, not in Islam. Islam is going to remain the way it was for thousands of years. Islam is already put together. It's completed. But by those that think they can change it, the new thing now is to be what is called a moderate. A person that is modernized their way of life to match the modernism of Islam. I mean, the democratic system and the life of 2013. Islam is not a a convertible religion that you can take the hat off and put the hat on, put the cap on, put the top down. It's not like that. It's a way of life that has been dedicated to erase the evil existence that comes along with democratic living and Republican and Protestant living and Republican living. Years ago, and we must follow this. It does not change with the season, it does not change at all. It's not a raincoat that you put on when it's raining, and when the sun comes out, you take it off and walk around in a bathing suit. It's not like that. It's not something you can practice today, and tomorrow you pick something else and practice. It's not a supermarket. It's a way of life. That you come in and get what you want one day, and the next day you take around, come and get something else, and throw that other one away. Or put it back on the shelf and use something else. It's not a trading post. So until we get that understanding in our heads and in our body and in our methods and our actions and deeds, we will continue to be as messed up as we are today. I say it straight out. And the law says to all of us, to every Muslim walking on this earth, and to every Islamic follower on this earth, whether it be half a follower or 2/3 follower or whatever, when the devil enters the hearts of the Muslim or the believer, mu'min, so has the devil. Now, what is I get out of that, and like other people get out of that, the devil, not as a person, but as things that take place. And the person that is doing it becomes then a carrier of evil ways and thoughts and ideas, and becomes detrimental to his or her deed. Now, this is not only for women, it's for men too. It's not only for men, it's for women too. So, I'm trying to give you this. Now, people are talking about, when you listen to this program, I gather that, alhamdulillah, bismillah. Most likely, I use the word most likely, the President of the United States did already go into the House and the result came down. I don't know what the results is from back then, but I can tell you now, or will be back then, when you receive this program. Because it must be prepared to go on TV and the internet and the web. Because it is a tape program. So I feel that Muslims around the world should recognize and accept the term Umma, Umma, Umma. And do what they have to do as a Ummah. They are commanded by the law and must do it or be disobedient to Allah's commands and rejectors of Allah's commands if they do something else other than what He tells them to do about a situation. They must gather together themselves, their forces, their armies, their navies, their marines, their air forces, their people themselves, and approach the UN as one body representing their Islamic way of life that they wish to be accepted as the leadership going into Syria, to bring what is happening to Syria to a close, one way or another. Since the president of Syria confesses and says that he is Muslim and that his way of life is Islam, and so does the opposition that's saying that they're fighting and arguing with him, or the rebels. They then are underneath the commands also of the law and can be dealt with under those terms, and not the terms of some society or way of life of one or two countries. But the system that governs them personally as well as personally or collectively. And that is Islam. So they now must approach the UN, as I said this, to Bush when he was president, to Clinton when he was president, and to Obama as he is president. And I sent these letters to the leaders of Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Oman, Yemen. Matter of fact, I spoke this to the world on Verizon and Cox internet programs or websites, which I have two websites of two different programs, two different organizations I have programs on. I said this to over 1 million people in Rhode Island, and I'm still saying it now. I say it to people outside of Rhode Island that receive the information on television 3 times a week, on Cox and Verizon networks.